On this week's episode, the fall TV season is now upon us. Could Apple provide a plus for streaming? And is it time to go down Carnival Row? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, and Inside Sports coming right at you here. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is our own mystical being from Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, and all the great things that he's doing with his new book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Time to take a trip down Carnival Row?
Yeah, let's do. I'm sorry, I was trying to think of a pun that I could use centaur in, but it was not working out. But yeah, let's walk down Carnival Row.
All right, man, because this interesting show on Amazon Prime, I did get a chance to see it. I know we were supposed to talk about it, and I apologize for not talking about it on the last episode, but just so much pop culture was just invading the show that had to take precedence, so I truly apologize for that. But we are touching upon it now. So I got a chance to see it. I like it. I mean, if you compare it to other Amazon Prime shows that are out there, I don't think it's the best this year. I think The Boys still is head and shoulders above all the rest. But when it comes to a show that I think has a different feel, I think it gets too much into the political aspect and the political side of it, as far as from the inner world politics that collide with between the humans and the fairies and all the mystical beings in there and all that. But it is, from a detective story standpoint, not too bad. Orlando Bloom is pretty good in there, and Cara Delevingne, she does a great job as well. So I want to hear your thoughts, which is surprising, which to me, I got kind of off guard by that, because she has been in a lot of stuff that's been panned in the past few years, Suicide Squad and a couple other things that she's not been very highly regarded as. So I'm glad that she got a better we got a better performance out of her this time around. So I want to hear your thoughts. You got a chance to see the series Carnival Row. Let me know. Is it time to go back to the world of mystical fairies and humans in a city and a world combined?
Yeah, I think so. It's got a lot of really cool fantasy elements, and like it's in a way that we haven't seen before, and it's also relevant to today's society, because they're hitting things like racism and prejudices and stuff like that. And the whole thing with like Cara Delevingne is interesting, because like this is a great platform for her. This is something that she has an opportunity. Has an opportunity to really shine in, because it's not something that's on a big screen. It's something that I feel really utilizes her talent as an actress or actor, whatever title people want these days. The story is really intriguing to me, and also just the world in which it exists. After watching the first few episodes, I looked at it, I look at Orlando Bloom's character, and I look at Carnival Row and some of the other characters. They have I'm sorry, I finished this 2 weeks ago, so I can't remember what the creatures are called. They had the centaurs, and they had like the Mr. Tumnus type creatures, and they have the fairies, obviously. And it's after watching the first two episodes, the world looks like it is very void of life. But then as you get further in, they start developing these characters a lot more, and you see kind of their backstories and intentions and motivations. They do a really great job of bringing everything to life. And I love the guy that played Moriarty in the second Sherlock Holmes movie. I forget what his name is, but
he's also on the short list of as far as acting performances, because remember, he is also one of the leads in Chernobyl as well.
Yeah. So he does an excellent job. Very good part. And when it came to like the last episode, like you knew what was going to happen. I think they didn't do a great job of like explaining, making that whole thing seem realistic, but just the way that the world is intriguing to me, and that's what I hope that they keep developing. I want to see more of like, what other worlds are there out there? Are we going to run into elves eventually? What are they going to keep introducing into the story? Because this seems to take everything that's in all of our favorite fantasy novels and bringing them together for the first, in a world that feels more realistic than like a Lord of the Rings or a Chronicles of Narnia or something like that.
It's just so funny with all the screaming that's behind you.
Oh, sorry, I can't even hear it, so I don't even know you're.
Let's hear this low pitch. I'm like, dude, are you watching a slasher movie? No,
I honestly, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you still. You're fine. But yeah, I mean, it's to me like you're right. It sounds like it's going to be something that's going to mesh well for audiences. And again, Jared Harris, who's done an outstanding job. I'll tell you what, this is really the year that's going to catapult his career, I think, to an even higher level, because with this performance here in Carnival Row and also his performance in Chernobyl, which is one of the highlights of the year in television, I think you're going to see a lot of great things from him going forward. But you're right. Carnival Row is something that I think is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as you did. I think it was a little bit slow from time to time, but I like the fact that it does touch on sensitive issues and serious issues such as racism, such as things that, class structure and things of that nature, which really point out some flaws in our own society, but also stick out in that series as well. And again, it's something that I think a lot of people should check out, especially if they need a nice buffer going into whatever it is that they want to see in the fall TV season, because the fall TV season is upon us, but there's still some time to go ahead and check out some great shows. And I think as a very solid contender, I think Carnival Row does fit that bill. Hey, Amazon Prime has already greenlit another year of Carnival Row. So you know what? If you want to catch up to date on what's going on with Carnival Row, now is a good time to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's only 8 episodes. It's not really much of a time investment. If you're a fan of all these other, if you're one of the people like myself who thinks that fantasy has been missing from TV and film for a long time, it's definitely a great place to kind of get that itch scratched a little bit. And I didn't know that they had greenlighted another season, so that's exciting news to me. I was trying to look that up on the internet the other day, and all I kept finding were spoiler casts and stuff like that. So I'm glad to see it's coming back for another season, because they really set up what could be a cool storyline, because they isolated all the creatures right in Carnival Row, and we're about to see something that's more parallel to what's going on in our world today, and that could be something that makes headlines. So who knows? I hope it's good.
I hope so as well, my friend. And that's Carnival Row on Amazon Prime. You should check it out. It's a pretty good watch from me, and it's definitely a great watch from Josh. He recommends it highly, and I give it a nice recommendation as well. But on our show today, we're going to have an awesome time indeed. We're going to be talking about Gears of War 5, Borderlands 3. Not only Josh is going to be talking about his thoughts on both those games, but also as well coming up Jamie Monroy as well. Plus, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to fall television with Jessica Boggs from the TV Ratings Guide and her new show, Jessica Show, which is now on Anchor and several other podcast outlets. Plus, also, we're going to count down numbers 111 to 120 on our top 200 video games of all time. And also, we got to go ahead and talk about Apple Plus as well. But first, my friend, real quick, capping off the weekend for the box office and movies, It Chapter 2, slighter decline than what a lot of people had anticipated. Only 55% drop, only at a 55% drop here domestically. About $40 million earned this weekend. But Hustlers, not only did it improve and not only did it exceed expectations, but it did so in spades, because it got over $33 million at the box office. It did a tremendous job, even above what anybody else thought out there. They were thinking 25, 28. I actually was thinking about 30. So $33 million is the biggest opening. It's the biggest opening ever for the STX studio. Jennifer Lopez, you know what? She's going to get a lot of acclaim right around Oscar time, Golden Globes time. So be wary of that. And again, I think you should give this movie a shot before the end of the year if you're into going ahead and talking about the top 10 movies of the year like we are. But also, my friend, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to pop culture. And you know what? I said it just real quickly. Apple Plus is now got itself up and running. It's now close to being up and running. They announced that they've got a lot of shows on the way, the morning show and some other shows that are coming out, which are really highly anticipated. But the price, $4.99 for that, for their television programming, plus for the television programming, Apple Plus Apple Arcade for the video gamers out there with a lot of great titles, including a new Rayman. That's also coming out at $4.99 a month. So I ask you, my friend, these aren't initially supposed to meant to be money makers for Apple in either the Apple Arcade or Apple Plus. Their target is to get in a larger audience real quickly. Was this a smart move to price point it low at $4.99 a month?
Yeah, I think so, because if you look at the games list, as far as Apple Arcade goes, if you look at the games list, everything, well, the games sound cool. Everything looks like something that plays on a mobile platform. So they're not really offering you something in the vein of what like Stadia is offering you, or Steam, or any of that stuff is. So it's still, the games look fun, but they still look like mobile games. And, as I'm looking at, as far as the Apple TV stories go, some of them look cool. They look interesting, but there's not really anything that I'm seeing or that I watched trailers for that really popped out at me, except for the Jason Momoa show. I like the idea of Apple not recreating, but giving us more stories in the Peanuts universe. But if you look at this list, there's not really anything here that has proved itself to be something worth watching. So it's possible that when Apple TV does launch and we are paying $5 a month for it, that they're going to pull a Netflix and start charging us more money. But I think they're waiting to see how well some of these shows do, because a lot of them are based on novels that I have never heard of. And not that I'm like the end all say all on these things, but like it's a lot of stuff that if I haven't heard of it, I'm sure there's a lot of other people haven't heard of it. So I'm wondering if they're waiting to see how a lot of this stuff will do and if they're justified at their $5 price point. Because if it ends up being something, these shows end up being things that are highly successful, then we're probably going to get a Netflix situation where they start charging more money, and eventually we're going to be up to like $18 a month. Hopefully not, but we'll see what happens.
Well, remember, they also have the distinct advantage. They have a large base to draw off of with all the Apple products that are out there. Plus they can also incorporate that and Apple Arcade into those products, whether it's the phone, whether it's the iPad, whether it's the computers, the whole 9 yards. They have such a large following of Apple devotees that just the Apple name should bring in a substantial audience alone.
Yeah, that's true too. Everybody has I mean, not everybody, but enough people have iPhones, Macs, MacBook Airs, whatever it is, iPads. Like, enough people have Apple devices to really. Why are they going to go out and buy something else? If there's something on the. I wonder too, like what the free trial will be like, stuff like that. So they're already with all the devices going out, they're already at an advantage as far as people being able to access this content before going off to Disney Plus or whatever it is. They have the advantage of having this content right in front of them all the time. So that if Apple starts squeezing advertisements on your computer, that wouldn't surprise me either. But yes, they do have a big advantage because there's so many devices that this stuff is going to be available on.
I agree with you. And it's interesting to see, as far as not only from the TV end with all the stuff that they're bringing out, like you said, with C and Dickinson and the morning show and all that, they're going to go ahead and keep on making it more enticing for their own marketplace. But with Apple Arcade, it'll be interesting to see with not only them, but also Google Stadia. I think there's only really realistically room for one more outlet that's going to really thrive. I think it's either going to be Google or Apple. I'm not sure which one will thrive at the moment, because obviously it ultimately depends on the games that are coming out with it. But your thoughts on this, what could be, like we talk about all the time with Xbox versus PlayStation versus Nintendo, then coming down the road, it could be Apple Plus or Apple Arcade against Google Stadia as well. I mean, this is something that has already been brought up by the press and media outlets, but this could be very interesting as far as an additional option for gamers out there as well.
It's a nice additional option, but like I said, all the games that I see for the Apple Arcade, they look like mobile games, whereas on Stadia, because you can use your wireless devices to play Stadia, you just have to have a decent enough internet connection. So I don't know what would be the advantage of having the Apple Arcade unless they get some big hitters behind them. I know they have Square Enix doing like Various Days, I think it's called, but I don't know what would be the point of investing heavily in Apple Arcade if there's not something you can just play. If you know, on Stadia, you just bring your controller, set your phone up, and just sit back and play with the controller, because Apple's not really offering you anything. And another thing I'm wondering, with Apple Arcade, do you have to have the subscription, or can you just buy the games outright? So that's something that's interesting to me, because there's all those, all these apps out, not apps, but there's like, you can play all the old Final Fantasies, the Sonics, Mario Run, stuff like that. Are these games all going to be transferred over, and the only way you can play games on your phone is through a subscription service, or are you going to be able to purchase these individually?
That's remains to be seen. I think it was something that's going to be very important. And around the time of E3 and around the time of Gamescom, it looks like it's going to be not only the traditional Xbox, a PlayStation, Nintendo showing off stuff. We now have to keep a bigger focus as far as what is going to come exclusively to platforms such as Apple Arcade and Google Stadia. What are your thoughts out there on the whole Apple new experiences that they're offering to consumers starting at $4.99 a month with Apple Arcade and Apple Plus? Are you excited as an Apple fan to go ahead and delve into one or both of these outlets? Or are you just maybe a little bit, or are you a little bit on the fence waiting to see what's coming up from waiting to see what's coming up from Apple? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, Josh and Jamie Monroy from Game Source is also are going to talk about their thoughts about Gears of War 5 and Borderlands 3 coming up right after the break. And then a little later on, we're going to have Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com with her September TV update. And we'll count down number 111 to 120 on our top 200 of video games all time. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, you heard from Jamie, my friend, thoughts there. I want to hear your thoughts, my friend, on Gears of War 5, Borderlands 3. You had a chance to go ahead and play both those games. I want to hear your thoughts on your experience with both Gears of War 5 and Borderlands 3.
Okay, so I will start with Gears of War 5. So Gears 5, as it's titled on the game and the Games Pass store. It's not your traditional Gears. What I remember most about the old Gears games, that everything feels very clunky. They're fun to play, but it's very clunky. Like you go up to cover, you get stuck on things a lot. And you're killing the same types of bad guys over and over again. There's only 4 different weapon types. Gears 5 comes in, changes everything. There's so many different weapon types to play. I think I've come across 12 so far. And there's so many different enemy types, and they introduce them all so early on in the game. So it almost has points where it feels like Doom, where each enemy type, you have to use a different gun to try to take them out, though all guns work. It just depends on how much ammo you want to waste. With Gears 5, it picks up almost shortly after the events of Gears 4. You're going into this old silo trying to launch a satellite to have up into space so you can start using the Hammer of Dawn again, which is a huge story element they'll get into. I don't want to do spoilers on this one, but it's you take care of that. So you're back with the old crew. You have Marcus running along with you. You can play co-op, so you play as either JD or Dell in the first chapter, and then I think you can have a third player play as the robot. So you play that, and then you kind of catch up on what's going on. The swarm is getting worse. Kate's still having the headaches because she's connected to the locust somehow. It shows this very fragile relationship between Marcus and Jen, I think her name was. And you get more backstory on how JD was born and what happened to Anya, which is really cool. One thing I really do like about it, and I know this is causing some controversy with people, is that it feels you know, you get to the second chapter and it feels like an open world game because you have your I don't even know what you want to call it. You have Kate and Dell out in the open, and you have this solar sail, and you're skimming along the snow. There's a lot of places to explore. You can go a lot of places. There's I wouldn't say there's like side quests, but there's objectives. You can stop at places, check things out, or like Marcus or Baird will call in and say, hey, there's something here. You might want to go take a look at it. And there's secondary objectives. The world feels really big, but there's not a lot in it. But I still think that it's cool compared to the old Gears of War games. And I've only gotten to halfway through the second chapter, but what I have seen of the game so far, I really like. And the story is, I don't know enough about it yet. It has a lot of things in it that are shocking just so far. And from what I understand, there's a big twist at the end that I haven't quite gone to yet, but I'm expecting something crazy to happen. There's a lot happening. You're getting more story on backstory on the other characters. The fighting is very fluid. You're not sticking to objects as much anymore. The grenade throwing feels a lot easier. A lot of weapons, a lot of grenade launchers. There's a mortar you can use that kind of shoots things up into the air. The snatchers are still a pain in the butt to fight, but it feels like a Gears game, but it also feels like something new. It feels like something that belongs it feels like a first-party title that belongs in the upper echelon of first-party titles. So I'm not saying this is the thing that saves Xbox, but it is something that it's a game of note, is what I'm trying to say. And as I play more, I'll elaborate more on what's going on the game. But I'm really digging it so far. I don't know where the game's going to go, which is good. I can't really predict what's going to happen, but I will talk more about it as I get through it. Have you heard anything about it? Have you played it yet? Any thoughts on it?
Well, I've had spent a great deal of time trying to trying to see more into Gears of War 5 and see whether or not it's something that I think I really want to get into. I think from what I'm seeing, as far as from a story aspect, I think it's pretty good. I think it tries to tell a little bit more detailed and cohesive narrative, especially when you're taking the skiff and going out to all those extra side adventures. You're getting a little bit more of the story building. If you're into that, I really highly recommend going ahead and taking the side adventures just to go ahead and build up that campaign for you even more. Whether or not it takes it to a higher level, I'm hoping that it will. Or as far as the Xbox platform is concerned, I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm a lot more positive on it than I was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And you heard me. I was a little bit unsure or kind of disappointed as where the Gears franchise was going. But I now think, after seeing quite a bit of footage of it and seeing where it's going, I think it's a lot better off than what I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that Gears of War 5 will become that preeminent franchise for Xbox going forward once again.
One more thing I do want to bring up. Gears 5 has this beautiful color palette. Oh, sorry.
They thought your words were so important that somebody must have had a heart attack while you were talking.
So one more thing I do want to bring up is the color palette in Gears 5 is so cool because they got lots of greens, lots of yellows, you can even see sun shining through the leaves and the trees. Like, that's something we've never seen in a Gears 5 game, because remember, all the other colors were not just grays and reds and blacks and stuff like that. In Gears, has a very gothic look. In this game, there's so much color. The first level you drop in, it almost feels like an Uncharted game because you're dangling from a helicopter in all this greenery. So it's a very beautiful game. But go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. It looks like it's a very beautiful game, and I think a lot of people will be surprised and somewhat interested in staying within the Gears of War franchise. Plus, the new additions to the Horde mode make it more palatable for a long time to come for gamers out there. But you did get a chance also as well to play a game I knew you have been very excited for in Borderlands 3. So share the goods, my friend. Your thoughts on Borderlands 3.
Okay, so this is kind of embarrassing. I played a lot this morning. I'm probably about 4 hours in, but the first night I got it, I was super excited. I went home, opened it up, and let it install, and then I fell asleep in the character creation screen. So when I woke up the next morning, I was still had not picked my character. So I've been so tired, and I'm trying to like play a few missions at a time. And it's from what I've played, it's fun. It's a different. It looks a lot different. It looks like Borderlands on a new console. So all the people saying it's just Borderlands 2. I don't think so. I think it looks different. I love the secondary objectives now. So when you do a quest or a mission or whatever you want to call it, there's the mission itself, and there's a little plus sign and then it says secondary objective. Like one of them, you go and you do this mission for Ellie, and it's fighting this guy named Dump Truck, and once you kill him, you get points. But if somehow during the fight you manage to shoot him in the backside, in the butt, you get bonus points. You get like 2,500 extra points for that. And that is something that I think it's fun. It gives you more incentives. It lets you, because before in Borderlands, you're just going around killing the bosses. You're not looking for clever ways to kill them. You're just trying to put enough bullets in them to make them not move anymore. With this one, it's fun because you're trying to do it in clever ways. So I'm assuming it's going to be more like, shoot them with kill them, take them down with a lightning weapon or whatever comes next. I've only unlocked SMGs and shotguns so far, so I haven't really gotten any assault rifles unless those were removed from the game. My complaint, the first map they drop you on is huge. So as you go around, they do the thing that they used to do in old strategy games. Remember, like in Age of Empires or the Alien vs. Predator games, you go around. Even Halo Wars, the areas of the map are shadowed until you get there and you unlock them. So in the first map they drop you on in Borderlands, you're in a car and you can go around and you can kind of unshadow everything. But it kind of, for those of us who have gaming OCD like I do, like I have to go and unshadow everything. It drives me crazy. As far as the combat goes, the combat feels very smooth, very fluid. I love the running and sliding system, and you can actually run and slide and can kick people. And so once you run and slide and kick them, they fly backwards, and then you just pull out your shotgun and you get extra points if you shoot them in the air. I've only done about 6 quests so far. I'm ready to dive back into it. I haven't gotten to like the space part and all that, being able to go to different planets. I've gotten a couple skill points, so I'm playing as Mose, the mech suit person. The one thing that does bother me, and I know there's a complaint a lot of people have, I don't like the new Claptrap voice, because it's not, hashtag not my Claptrap. It's just, it's I don't know. It feels like a great part of Borderlands has been removed from the game. And I know it sounds close to it, but it's not. And they do this thing too that's really annoying, where they make it so if you do an sorry, hold on one second. Okay, you're moving towards an objective, and the people you're doing the mission for will just say the same things over and over and over again until you do it. So there's this one mission you have Claptrap, you have to you're trying to find the pieces for his antenna. So you do this thing, you get over this this area, and there's Claptrap's thing is in a bunker underground. So you have to do one of these jump off the cliff and then do a hard stomp down to break the board that's blocking you from getting to that area. And until you do that, Claptrap will just keep talking, saying the same thing over and over. Maybe you should jump. He'll do that over and over and over again until you do it. So that's my big complaint about the game right now. Other than that, it's been fun. And, again, I will talk more about this as I get through it. But what are your thoughts, man? Is it something that you're interested in checking out?
Always, when it concerns the Borderlands series. I mean, it's so much fun to find find the different variations in guns that you can go ahead and utilize, plus the sense of humor that it has. Mind you, I think a lot of people are talking about that it does not have quite the same sense of humor because the writers involved that were helping to make the Borderlands series what it was. Not all of them are there this time around, so the writing is not quite entirely there. But still, it looks like it's a great time. I think from what I've seen, I think it's something that I definitely want to get into. And I think a lot of other people as well. I think the advertising and the promotion of the game that is still very prevalent out there as we're talking right now is going to garner some big returns for the game. I think 2K will be satisfied with what happens down the road with Borderlands and Borderlands 3. I think they're going to find a great residual benefit as far as from sales and interest in Borderlands, because I think they've done a great job of promoting it. I think the game has earned solid enough reviews to go ahead and garner enough attention. Mind you, they're not Game of the Year awards, but still, Game of the Year level, but still, it's solid enough, and that's what it needed to do to become a very good seller. And I think it's going to be a consistent seller till the end of the year.
Yeah, I hope so. And Borderlands is one of those games where they continually release new content. So what was it with Borderlands 2? Like that game was putting out content for at least 5 years after it came out. So I don't see why Borderlands 3 would not be a game that would continue to sell copies, at least until another entry is hatched or announced or something like that.
So absolutely, those are some great thoughts from both you. So those are some great thoughts from both you and Jamie Monroy on Borderlands 3 and Gears of War 5. If you out there have thoughts on Gears of War 5 and Borderlands 3, we'd love to hear them. Please let us know, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break is Jessica Boggs with our September TV update. She's going to fill us in on what's up ahead for the TV networks and cable that's coming up out there. And then after that, we count down 111 to 120 in our top 200 video games of all time. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. All right, and we're back to close out the show. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. If you need a listing where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, 7 days a week on great radio stations all over the world, including our friends at Crooked River Radio, please take a look at our listings today. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where we're on also over 30 different podcast networks, including our great friends at Bullhorn as well. My friend, you've got a great thing going on with your book, Congratulations, You Suck. It's been selling well, but you got to tell people out there, once again, where can you find your awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck?
You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Anchor, not Anchor, sorry, I'm thinking podcasting, BookLocker, and it's in physical and ebook formats. I'm going to do a little more promoting this week, so I'll have some more stuff to announce about that. But yeah, definitely check it out. And if you purchased it, I'd appreciate a review on Amazon. That would help me out quite a bit. But if you have purchased it, thank you. I just want to say I hope you like it. And yeah, I'm going to start working on another book here soon because I have to get something out before the end of next year.
Are you going to do any author tours where you go around and go all the bookstores and sign autographs?
I would like to, but probably not till summer. I can't get the time off. I wish. I want to. I want to do a few things, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Once again, that's Congratulations, You Suck. You can find it today on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, the Nook, the Kindle, and of course, stop by your local Barnes & Noble where you can request it, and it'll come right to the store there. All right. I also want to thank Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com for being on today's program, and of course Jamie Monroy from GameSource as well. But before we head on out, my friend, we got to talk the top 200 video games of all time, as determined by our followers from the Pop Culture Cosmos. We got to go ahead and do a countdown of the 111 to 120 games. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. 120, that's going to be Splatterhouse. 119, Silent Hill 2. 118, Shining Force 2. 117, Puyo Puyo. 116, Perfect Dark. 115, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey. 114 is Monster Party. 113 is Metroid Prime. 112 is Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. And 111 is Mario Party. I know our good friends at Mario Party Wars and Storm Rush Gaming always have a great time playing Mario Party. And you know what? I think that really started it all for them. But there's a lot of great games on the list, a lot of classic retro games. So what stands out to you in your mind when it comes to numbers 111 to 120?
Okay, I feel weird saying this, but I've only played like 3 of these games. So Silent Hill 2 was fun. I remember Silent Hill 1 was we talked, this was earlier on the list, Silent Hill 1, but it was just one of those games where you wanted to see what happens next, wanted to dive back into the world. And then of course, after the movies came out, I was no longer interested in Silent Hill because they very much killed it for me. Shining Force 2, loved it. Loved Shining Force 1. You got to, and like you said in the article here, Sega, what made them such a great company was that they were willing to think outside the box. And that's why we had so many ninja-based games on Sega, like Shinobi, Shining Force. There are a few others I remember came on the little 6-pack thing you got with the console. I don't know. There's something about it because it was not the first of its kind, but it was something that it felt like an arcade game you could play at home, and that was something I always loved. And I'm pretty sure that this was one you could play with your friends. I don't remember. I just remember owning it, and I remember spending quite a few hours playing it. Of course, there was no save system, so you had to play it all the way to the end. But it was definitely a classic that always sticks out in my mind. I've actually been looking for it. So if you guys know anyone out there who has it and wants to get rid of it, send us an email, please. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Next one here, Perfect Dark. I watched friends play it. I played the one that came out on the Xbox 360. It's definitely a series I've always wanted to go back and play because I feel like I've missed out on a lot of this stuff as a kid because I just bought a Nintendo 64 like 3 months ago, and that's the first one I've ever owned. So I missed out on some things. One I did play, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, and I love these games. And I'm hopeful that we'll see like newer stuff grace the newer consoles, but these are classics. And I just remember being able to walk around and talk to the other people, and you can make farting noises and you can make them laugh. That was always fun. It's a great game, great series. And we're moving on here to I haven't played Metroid. I played the first Metal Gear Solid, but not Snake Eater. Played Mario Party a few times, but these are all games. Like, it's funny, as we're going through this list, I'm finding all these games I really want to go back and play because I didn't have the means to play these games as a kid, and I feel like I've been missing out on things. I ask you, though, what games on this list really stick out to you?
Well, what really sticks out to me, my friend, I think it's really simple for me. I think it's Perfect Dark. I think that was something that really resonated with gamers of that time as far as from a first-person shooter standpoint. I know it really went wrong with the next iteration of Perfect Dark, which came out with the Xbox 360, but for at least for a short period of time, from our good friends at Rare, they seem to really be hitting on a high note time after time after time during that era of time. And for me, Perfect Dark really resonated as a game that a lot of people then and even now could really get into. So, but if you want to hear the rest of our list, but if you want to read up on the rest of our list, number 111, but you want to read up on the rest of our list of the top 200 video games of all time, you can check it out today, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. All the numbers, all the lists for each by 10 are down there or are on there already. They've already gone ahead and we've already counted down to the number one game of all time on our site. So you want to check that out, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, or keep listening to us right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by. But one last thing that I have to talk to you about before we head on out, Tokyo Game Show. We saw a ton of footage over the weekend in regards to Death Stranding. We saw a great amount of footage when it comes to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Is there anything else that you're excited for there? And have we seen too much? When it comes to Death Stranding?
I don't think so. I think despite all the footage that has been shown, we still don't really know that much about the game. And I feel like it's one of those games where we're not going to know enough about it until the game actually comes out. So that's something I do give props to Kojima for. But also what I understand, it's a really, really long game. So I'm hoping that it's more than just a walking simulator. I know there's some action, some gun play in there, but there's really just, we've just seen footage. We haven't seen it in action. We haven't heard anything from anyone who's played it. I want to know. It's still very mysterious to me, and that's something that it's either going to be. It's a good marketing strategy. It's going to make people want to play it, but it's also it could work to the disadvantage because if this game ends up being bad, then I don't think Kojima is really going to be someone that's able to survive in the current marketplace because there's so much expectations on this game, and my concern is that he's not going to be able to fulfill those expectations, and we're going to miss the chance to play maybe some cool games that he might come out with in the future. Final Fantasy VII, though, I I love it. You know, I really want to play it. I love that it has an active battle system, but I also love that if you want to play it in classic mode, where you can go back and do the separate battle screen, like you could do that too. I love the extra efforts they're going through for the extra hoops they're jumping through for fans of the game, whether you're a new fan, you just jumping onto the series, or if you're there for nostalgia's sake. They're really trying to hit every market there is, and they're hearing what the fans want, and they're making those adjustments as they go along. And I really applaud Square for that, because that's, they haven't really been known to care that much about what the fans think in the look at the Final Fantasy 15 debacle with all the extra DLC coming out and stuff like that, or that was supposed to come out and got canceled. So I don't know, and I like the idea of the Virtual On series coming out to PS4. I haven't really seen those games in a while. I ask you this, though, what is anything sticking out to you from the Tokyo Game Show?
I really think all the extra footage of Death Stranding, I personally enjoyed it, but I know sometimes when you show about over an hour of the game has probably been released out there into the wild, whether it's from what this past weekend at the TGS or beforehand at Gamescom or wherever at Gamescom, E3 or wherever, there's now enough footage out there for people to really make a decision on whether or not they're going to commit to playing. But you're right. We could see another hour, and we're not even sure what we're going to expect when it comes to a Kojima game. So all bets are off when it concerns Death Stranding. But for what I've seen, I really am going to get into it. I think it's so weird and it's so out there that, hey, anytime you're going to go ahead and star Lindsay Wagner, as far as her digital likeness out there, you're reaching for something that way back into the nostalgia area there. So only Kojima could think this crazy things up when you have somebody that's portraying the president that is voiced by somebody else but looks like Lindsay Wagner. So from the Bionic Woman fame. So only Kojima could think these crazy things up. And I'm expecting to see a lot more craziness and wild things to happen when you play Death Stranding coming up this November. My friend, it's been a great episode indeed. I cannot thank you enough for being part of it. But for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. Hold on. Well, thanks again, Josh, and everybody else for being a part of today's broadcast. Don't forget to catch our shows, the Lakers Fast Break podcast, and Inside Sports Fantasy Football coming up this week as well. It's going to be a great show on Friday when we're going to be talking about Rambo. We're going to be talking about Ad Astra. We're going to be talking about a lot more stuff coming out in pop culture. So it's going to be an awesome week to recap in pop culture coming up on our Friday show, PCC Multiverse. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.